One Southern American nation takes its name from the imaginary line that passes through it, the equator. In Spanish, Ecuador means equator. In Ecuador, some of the trains are a bit unusual, and so is the seating choice of some of the passengers. Everyone has to pay for a seat, but some choose to enjoy the view from the roof. This train is called an autoferro, a contraction of the Spanish words for bus and train. It's a bus, mounted on a train chassis. This rail line is vital to the people who live in the Andes Mountains between Ecuador's capital, Quito, and the Pacific coast. With only a souped-up truck motor, the autoferro can travel just 40 kilometers per hour. But it can carry a trainload of passengers, 60 in all, not counting the ones riding on the roof. Train schedules are confirmed by telegraph. As the train descends towards the coast, the assistant engineer scrambles to remove a rock that has fallen on the track. It happens so often, he rides on the running board. End of the line, a tiny village near San Lorenzo on the Pacific coast. There's a festival underway. It's the feast of Corpus Christi. The autoferro is turned around for the return trip. The train heads back through the mountains to Quito. Quito lies between two ridges of the Andes at an altitude of nearly 3,000 meters. It's the second highest capital in the world after La Paz, Bolivia. The city is actually two cities in one. The modern city to the north and the old city to the south. During the 16th century, Spanish soldiers made a brutal conquest of the region. The lasting effect, a complex relationship between the conquerors and the conquered. Ironically, soldiers guarding government buildings in Quito wear uniforms like those their conquerors wore. But the style took on new meaning during the 19th century, when it was worn by the native soldiers who fought against Spain and won independence. The Cathedral Plaza is the city's main marketplace. In Ecuador, you don't have to go far to find fresh fruit. More bananas come from here than from any other country in the world. Another popular export, the panpipe music of the Andes. Like Mexico, this is a cultural crossroads where religious beliefs are a blend of local traditions and the Catholic faith imported from Spain. The Spanish adorned their churches lavishly to inspire faith and as a lure. In a region plagued by earthquakes, the local people were understandably reluctant to come inside such lofty spaces. The decor enticed the new converts inside. Leaving Quito by autoferro, the rail line heads for Ecuador's largest city, the port of Guayaquil, traveling south at first. Along the way, the train picks up the mail. This time, it's dogs tempting fate. Or are they chasing the mailman? The brakes had some heavy use. This is a popular route, known for its majestic vistas. The highest point on the line, the Urbina station. The altitude is more than 3,600 meters, and the air is thin. Passengers buy the local drink, canelazo, a drink made of rum, lemon, sugar, and cinnamon. It's a good pick-me-up for anyone who is feeling the effects of the high altitude. Scientists believe that these two peaks once formed a single mountain that was the tallest on Earth, 10,000 meters high. It was blasted apart in a volcanic eruption thousands of years ago. This mountainous terrain was once part of a vast empire. The Inca Empire. The Incas ruled a region the length of the United States East Coast. Quite a feat, considering they had no wheeled vehicles or horses. They used no written language. But the ruins of the empire, now populated only by llamas, communicate something of the power of the Incas. These are the foundations of a stronghold called Ingapirca. The fortress was built without mortar. It's believed that the Incas cut stones by sawing them with wet, sand-laden cords. It must have taken endless patience. The inner sanctum, where worship of the sun took place. The conquistadores tore it open, expecting to find treasure, but there was only more stone. Inca means king. The Inca, the ruler, was believed to be descended directly from the sun god. No one dared look him in the eye. What we think of as Inca was actually a synthesis of all that had come before, the traditions of many tribes. Huari, Chimu, Nazca, Chavin. We know their names, but we know very little about how they lived. Gold was plentiful, and the Incas became expert goldsmiths. In the absence of a written language, the Incas used quipus, sets of strings and knots, to record their statistics, population, troops, supplies. Inca textiles were up to 6 meters wide, woven on looms that were the largest in the world. But the empire lasted barely a century. Soon after the Spanish arrived in 1532, it collapsed. Foreign travelers who want to explore Ecuador's past can take a special train. This autoferro is set up for tourists. It even has a little kitchen at the back. Frequent earthquakes mean that from here, the track is often so badly damaged that trains cannot get through. But where reliable service picks up again, heading west to Guayaquil, travelers can experience a blast from the past. Steam trains are still in use, from here to the Pacific coast. This locomotive has probably been operating for about 100 years. The next stretch of the route is known as La Nariz del Diablo, the Devil's Nose. Anyone riding on the roof is advised to stay in the middle of the carriage. This is a treacherous descent. On the railroads of today, a grade of 1 in 100 is considered steep. This line has a gradient of 1 in 30, about as steep a plunge as any train can make without using a system of cogs. It takes 3 brakemen to control the descent. The train has to pick its way down the mountainside using an engineering technique known as a zigzag, a series of switchbacks. The train heads into a dead-end track and slows to a stop. Then it reverses direction, backing down again into another stretch of track below. There would be no other way to safely negotiate this steep grade. Even with the help of switchbacks, the Devil's Nose is still a challenge for the crew. In this small mountain town, the veteran locomotives are carefully tended. Spare parts for the old engines are no longer easy to find. Fortunately, the original molds are still on hand right here, so the maintenance crew can cast new parts. The line continues to descend towards the Pacific. The train uses a different locomotive now. It needs less power in the flat coastal plains. Banana plantations stretch as far as the eye can see. Last stop, the seaport of Guayaquil. It's the most populous city in Ecuador. Some travelers don't stop here. They go on to the Galapagos Islands, which are famous for their unique wildlife. The islands are several hours away by boat. But there's some intriguing wildlife right here in Guayaquil. Iguanas roam free in the city park. They're harmless, even when they're hungry. For many visitors, this is the end of the line. their travels in Ecuador having stretched from the Andes peaks to the Pacific.